de coûts, en tout cas, comme le paid peut en avoir. Il n'y a pas d'achat média. Par contre, il faut évidemment l'entretenir, voire payer des influenceurs pour y contribuer. Donc finalement, ça redevient un peu du paid. Voilà, c'était ma petite introduction au contexte de la communication des marques, et plus particulièrement de la publicité. Et donc, pour nous en parler, Robert Bruza, qui est le CEO fondateur de cette entreprise américaine Advertas, nous arrive tout frais de Los Angeles. Et you're going to speak in English? Yes. With no video. No video. About communication, lifestyle communication, your vision and your solution.
Yes.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
On peut l'applaudir pour avoir fait ce long voyage.
Yep. Thank you. Good afternoon. Sorry, I will be giving the presentation in English. It's the only language I know, and you don't want to hear me speak French, so we should be good. So hopefully you guys, I'll go slow, and certainly if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt. It's just about having a conversation. So the company that I work with is called Advertas. We're a next-generation ad technology company focused on the evolution of the advertising market as we begin to apply emerging technologies like 360-degree, mobile 360, virtual reality, and augmented reality. We're currently commercially viable. We have been running campaigns for the last 2 years, and we most recently launched our creative management platform, which now allows media agencies and brands to be able to create 360-degree VR and AR advertisement in-house using their in-house resources. So that's important only because as we move forward and we talk about the interest in this new medium and the inevitability of it, scalability is going to be key, and that's going to be cost, and that's going to be the ease of use. So the presentation today is going to start in the future and then move to the past, or to the present rather. So we start with the Internet of Things, which is the future, and from our perspective, we look at the Internet of Things as changing the relationship between the brand and the consumer. And this fact is basically going to help shape and change all of media content from this point forward, and I'll go into detail about that. The present, of course, is where we are today and the many aspects of this technology that's already underway. So what is the Internet of Things? Of course, you know, the first and foremost is it's a $470 billion industry, at least is projected to be in the next 2 years. So very big, and it's happening very fast. But in a very simple explanation of the Internet of Things is everything is connected. So everything from your toothbrush to the space shuttle is basically connected. And more than being connected is the important aspect of all of these devices talking to each other, which will make them smart. They're smart in the sense that they're processing enormous amounts of data that will result in very personalized experiences to the consumer on almost a moment-by-moment basis. So every time you touch a device throughout your life cycle, when you wake up and you go to bed, you're going to be receiving personalized, heavily personalized content that will help you be more productive, hopefully more efficient, and theoretically happier in your life. The main drivers of the Internet of Things, as we see it, are mobile, VR, AR, wearables, and smart homes. Oversimplified, smart homes and wearables are really driving the utilitarian adoption of the Internet of Things, the practical aspects of it in your home, your coffee maker turning on when you wake up, talking to your watch as it starts the heat in your house, etc. The VR and AR components will also be very functional, and I think that's where they're going to have scale, but in the short term, they're very much going to be influencers for the adoption of experiences and entertainment. The most critical aspect of the Internet of Things is mobile. Mobile is the gateway, or what we call the pivot point, to the Internet of Things. Not only because mobile incorporates, or will incorporate, about 70% of the population in the next 2 years, but because mobile is the one device that is going to most rapidly be able to connect to all the other Internet of Things. So it's the one that people are going to use as a portal, if you will, to be able to launch into their adoption to other Internet of Things. And that's why it's so critical. So the Internet of Things is coming, it's changing the relationship, and here's one of the ways in which that's going to reach the consumer. The adoption of and connectivity of devices will work its way into the life of every individual, but what that does for content, and this is particularly relevant for this conference, is it changes the role of content to a large degree. Not entirely, but to a large degree. Content no longer will be solely interruptive, disruptive, and dedicated. Content will play an increasing role in integration into your lifestyle. It will be there when you need it. It will be there throughout your day, helping you live your day, helping you function in your day, helping you be more productive. That role of content is part of lifestyle integration. The other aspect of how media will change as a result of the adoption of the Internet of Things is in the format itself. So all the devices that you saw up there in the Internet of Things, the VR, the AR, the wearables, they all adopt a completely new format. And what we like to say is, gone are the days of the 2D display box for consuming content, and begin the new era of immersive content, content that is certainly within your field of view, 120 degrees, but also potentially 360 degrees and immersive. The analogy we always use is, when we went from black and white TV to color, we didn't go back to back to black and white. We didn't go back to black and white because we see the world in color is a better way to experience content. The same is argued for this transition. Once you get used to seeing content in a broader perspective, in a wider field of view, you're not going to go back to the 2D box. So as immersive content becomes more adopted and it becomes the preferred way of consuming content, so goes advertising. Now, advertising will follow because that's where content is, but advertising stands to benefit tremendously from immersive style content. One of the first aspects, number one, is it helps tell a better brand story. You've got a bigger canvas, you've got more room to be able to walk somebody through an experience, but the key factor there is that there's a heightened level of interactivity. When you're dealing with an immersive environment, immersive content, whether you're in VR, AR, or even just a mobile phone and you're moving it to look in 360, you're engaged. That interactivity helps you connect with the consumer's content. The second piece is that you can fill that space with a lot more content per single view. So I can consume a lot more content in one view, left or right, than I can by swiping my finger or by clicking on and getting more content. That's efficiency. It helps brands communicate more effectively. The third aspect, and it's been touched on already, is the visceral aspect of it, right? So once you are able to see content in a wider view, you have context, right? It gives you relevancy. You can see, instead of looking at a race car just driving down a road, you open up the field of view and you see, okay, it's Monaco, right? That gives you more information and gives you context. That context, along with feeling like you're there, creates a visceral reaction, heightens emotions, and allows brands to connect more effectively with consumers. The good news is, in light of all this change coming, the consumer is ready. The consumer wants this change. And you don't blame them because, you know, in reality, when you guys look around, you're all consumers, right? We're in this industry, but we're all consumers. When you have the ability to experience content in a wider field of view or immersive view, it's a better experience. So you see that pan out in the numbers. At least in the US, you're seeing very high numbers of people embracing 360, wanting 360. The most important number, though, I think, which often gets overlooked, is the one in the middle top. 40% less likely to use ad blockers with 360 ads. Now, this is a side benefit to immersive content, immersive advertising. When you have content that's better, wider view, more engaging, people are more likely to want that content. That reduces the desire to have ad blockers. But the other interesting fact is that when, and we found this out only through testing, is that when people are engaged with 360 content, either on a mobile phone or inside a headset, it requires device motion to be able to engage in one way or another, and that's how we determine engagement. You can't fake that. There's no bots out there that can do that right now. So ad fraud almost disappears overnight when you can track engagement at that level. That new metric introduces the ability to be able to validate engagement with a real person 100% of the time. Am I making sense? Is it too fast? Again, it's English. All right. Okay, so the numbers bear out industry-wise as well. You heard a lot of these numbers already in some of the other presentations. Here's just more. There's a lot of it out there. There's no shortage. The bottom line is yes, yes, yes. It is more effective. It is more effective. It is more effective. So 7 times higher interaction rate. And this is from Nielsen and Forrester and independent studies. So we talked about the future, where things are going. Let's bring you back home to today, because that's really where we should be. I go to a lot of conferences, I go to a lot of talks, I go to a lot of trade shows, and and we've been in this for 5 years, and we always talk about the future. A couple years ago, we got tired of talking about the future, and we wanted to see what can be done today. So that's where I'm going to touch on now. First of all, you've got thousands of brands already creating this content. So in a way, you've got demand. They're spending millions of dollars, and right now, to the best of their knowledge, the only place they can feature this is on social media or at live events. Very few understand at this point that they can use it for advertising today. The good news is when they feature it on social media, and you can go on YouTube and Facebook yourself and Google any 360 video, they're getting millions of hits, millions of views. Not just a couple million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, and this is for bacon and life insurance. So from a social media standpoint, it's resonating. At the consumer level, reach is already there. There's 2 billion phones estimated by the end of this year, smartphones in the world. All of them support 360-degree content today. I'm just going to show you really quick. I know. Where's my phone? So what we mean by that is, so if you're on a mobile device, you're not going to see this too well, but I can show you and send you links anyways. This is the technology that allows, within content, 360 to be viewed, and all of your phones can support this today. It can go full screen. You can move it with your finger. And it has one-click VR mode, which splits the screen. You can drop this in a headset. So as an advertiser, you can reach 2 billion people today with this type of content. And it supports AR as well, which many companies are launching as part of their platform soon. Okay, the other good news is from a network standpoint, when you talk about advertising, you got to push advertising through ad networks, right? It's a big mess. It's DSPs and SSPs and everything else. The good news is you can push 360 and AR ad units through your existing supply chain today. We know this because we're currently doing this. Right now, in this moment, we're pushing ads in 11 different countries through probably 15 different ad networks. These ad networks have to be tested, but they do all support 360, VR, and AR advertising content today. The other good news is, and this kind of ties into the myths that the other person was speaking about, is it's not just about 360 video. That's what you frequently hear. You can do 360 video as an ad unit, but that's only because Facebook and YouTube only allow you to do 360 video. You can do some 360 images, but you can't do anything else. But what we're here to tell you is that you can do any form of rich media. You can do CGI, and CGI is basically what Ubisoft was talking about in terms of video games, that animated kind of format. But you can also do 2D assets. So you can take existing 2D assets, you can build it in a 360-degree sphere, and build out a 360 ad experience using existing 2D assets. We did this with CBS. This ad here was built completely out of using 2D images, and I have it on my phone I can show you. And it was able to garner 85% engagement. That means 85% of the people that saw the ad engaged with the ad, and this is using 2D assets for 360. So as mentioned before, the tools exist. Creative management platform we just introduced. This is ours. Allows media teams and creative teams to create this in-house today. And the results are there from our own campaigns and from industry data. It's not unusual to see over 100 seconds of view time for a display ad, which is crazy. 50 to 85% engagement and 10 times CTR. Am I close? Wrap it up. All right, conclusion. If you remember nothing else, remember, immersive advertising is available today, and it's easier than you think. It's not expensive. You don't have to go out and spend $100,000 to create a 360 ad unit. You can do it from 2D. You have reached 2 billion smartphones worldwide. It also works on desktop. The tools are available, and it will work with existing networks. And it also is the future in the sense that once you start advertising, you might as well do it now. It's just going to lead to the other platforms, so this is just the beginning. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. I was just amazing. Okay, so for your information, Robert will be in Paris in the coming days. If you are interested to meet with Robert on Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, and Friday next week, he'll be there. So if you'd like to know more about Advertas and the vision solution, feel free to contact me or Robert directly. Okay? Alors, I switch to French. Thank you and see you later. Voilà une présentation que j'ai trouvée intéressante avec cette vision globale qui nous pousse dans nos nouvelles sphères. On va passer à un autre sujet quelque part des médias immersifs parce qu'on se veut, on doit couvrir la totalité du spectre et j'en profite pour remercier à nouveau nos partenaires.